So good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a very warm welcome to the Galgorm Resort for what is it's been a really special day so far. The sun is out, thank goodness. It's truly beautiful out there. I'm sure you can agree with me that it's some venue, really beautiful place, and what a place to celebrate. You know, the new Mr. and Mrs. Black. For those of you who don't know me, I'm William Robinson, one of the groomsmen here today, and I have the honour of being your Master of Ceremonies. Just before we begin, I've got a few cards that I'd like to read out to everybody. Bear with me. So, happily ever after, with love on your wedding day, limited edition, volume 1. I think it's meant to look like a book, so. Natalie and Ashley, sorry Ethel and I cannot be with you on this very special day. We both wish you a lifetime of love, laughter and great happiness. All our love, Grandad and Granny. I have another here. Natalie and Ashley, on your wedding day. To Natalie and Ashley, all you need is love and a dog. Love from Maddie, Molly, Georgie and Oscar. I wasn't sure whether to bark that one out or read it. And we have another one here. It says, Dear Ashley, have a fantastic wedding and best wishes for the future. Dominique, Shannon and all the team at Baby Dolls. Not sure what that's about. But look, before we kick off the proceedings, I want to acknowledge the magical group of people we have here today. You know, people that Ashley and Natalie hold dearest, and people that will never likely share the same room again. You know, from fellow members of the stag do, the successful stag do in Edinburgh, to family members from Sweden. We're delighted to be here and share in your wonderful day. I understand our Swedish friends arrived earlier in the week, and rumour has it they've been to IKEA 4 times already. Leave some meatballs for the rest of us, will you? But look, just a word on the format. We're going to hear 4 speeches shortly. Follow the bride, follow the groom, and the groom himself, and of course the best man, which I think we're all thoroughly looking forward to. But a few housekeeping rules. Firstly, if you don't mind, please give plenty of support to our speakers today. It's not easy speaking in front of 120 people, despite me making it look relatively so. There are a few no's that need mention, so no heckling, no booing, and no sleeping. That includes you, Peter Hayes. Peter was fond of a nap on the odd bar in Edinburgh there recently on the stag do. Just wrestling with my paper here. But look, I've known Ashley for quite a long time, nearly 26 years. We were in the same class together in P4 in Strandtown, and more or less remained in the same class the whole way through primary school and grammar school at Inst. And look, we've created some fantastic memories over the years, and I'm honoured to call him one of my best friends. But truthfully, I never thought this day was going to happen. I never thought I'd be stood here with Ashley married to the beautiful Natalie. And the reason for this is, historically, Ashley had a tendency to change his girlfriend every World Cup year. For those of you who don't follow football, that's every 4 years. But thankfully, with Natalie coming onto the scene and the World Cup recently being held in winter in Qatar, we've managed to break the cycle, and we're all here today. Thank goodness for that. On a more serious note, I'm truly delighted for you both. I'm honoured to play such a starring role at your wedding, and I look forward to celebrating with you both over the coming hours. Look, that's enough from me. Thanks everyone for listening, And without further ado, please let me introduce our first speaker of this evening, the father of the bride, Mr. Tommy Bankston.
Is it on? Yeah. It's funny what a brief meeting in Corfu and a telephone call from Nicola can create. Sorry, it was actually I made a call. But anyway. Så, kära brudpar, ärade gäster, ni är alla hjärtligt välkomna. Only joking. Let's say the Swedish for a little song after the first toast. Welcome everyone. My wife Nicola and I would like to thank you all for joining us here today. Some of you have even traveled from as far away as Italy, Spain and Sweden to be with us. I think somebody even traveled from Larne, but I'm not sure. But regardless how far you have traveled, we are delighted to share this special day with you all. And I would like to extend a very special thank you to Ashley's parents, Karen and John, for all their help and support in not only making today such a lovely occasion, but how great they have been in welcoming Natalie into their family right from the start. Since Natalie came into this world almost 31 years ago, she has filled it with love and joy, and her infectious humor is a breath of fresh air to those who know her. Oh dear. I've always been very proud of my gorgeous daughter, but never more so than today, when I had the honor of walking her down the aisle. It made me prouder than I have ever felt possible. We have a very few special people who wish they could have seen this today, but sadly couldn't join us for this celebration. And it's my mum and my brother Kent, and Nicola's mum and dad, Ethel and Michael. We know they would have loved to witness the union of Ashley and Natalie. And Natalie, they would have absolutely been blown away by your beauty today. Although not as with everything you have ever worn, you know you would have had to tell your granny Ethel that the wedding dress was a bargain for 1999. The M&S. So we wish they could have been seen this beautiful day and shared it with us. Ashley, I think it's fair to say that when you and Natalie started dating, it wasn't long before Nicola and I felt that Natalie had met the one. That's not my word now, but that is Nicola's and John and Karen. Ashley is a credit to you both, and Nicola and I are delighted to welcome him into our family. And now it only remains for me to say that I wish you a lifetime together, filled with love and laughter. And Ashley, I know you will continue to love and cherish Natalie as much as we do. So we're going to have two toasts. First toast. So we run with that. Can I now ask you all to be upstanding and raise your glasses to the bride and groom? Natalie and Ashley. And we are also going to have a second toast because Natalie is half Swedish, and her Swedish cousins also want to sing a traditional song to toast the bride and groom. So if I can leave the mic down.
No pressure.
Okay.
Patrick, take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Långsamt.
So are you with us?
Yeah.
Helan går, sjung hopp för alla la la lej. Helan går, sjung hopp för alla lej. Och den som inte helan tar, den heller inte halvan tar. Helan går, sjung hopp för alla lej.
Okay, now introducing the proud father of the groom, Mr. John Black.
Thank you, William. All right. Not very technical. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted so many friends and families have joined us today. I got a bit emotional. for Natalie Ashley's wedding. I'll be okay in a minute. I'll be all right in a minute. Just the first thing, can everybody hear me okay at the back? If you can't hear me, Ashley is a hearing specialist for any claims that are needed. And he also works for Miller McCall Wiley, and their number is 02890. And they're here today, so hope it helps with the peer review, Ashley. I'd like to particularly welcome Natalie's family from Sweden here today. They've travelled a long way, so great to see you. This is the truth now. It was a text from Ashley one winter's evening. I think it's about sort of September, October time. I've actually kept the text, and it read, "Dad, I can't go to the Glentour match tonight, as I'm going to IKEA." That is the truth. So here we are, and I'm delighted to formally welcome Natalie into the Black family. She brings obviously a bit of glamour and beauty to the Blacks. When I first met Natalie, I was very impressed how friendly and enthusiastic she was. And the third I felt I'd known her for years, only I'd actually met her for about 3 minutes. I actually deliberately went out of the house to meet her, should say that. But Natalie's positive outlook came to the fore when Ashley eventually bought a house after many years of his mother logging on to Property Pal and pointing out several properties that we thought he could live in. So he bought a house at 87 Gilnahirk Road, Belfast. Ashley and me picked up a key one November evening. Very wet night it was, and we went around, looked at the house. We looked at each other. I looked at Ashley, he looked at me, and we said, "This is very grim. What have we bought?" Went out to the backyard, and it was raining heavy, and the water was flowing out of the guttering. Really bad. I said to Ashley, do not let Natalie see this house. She'll split up with you. Or at least get your Uncle David down and fix it up a bit before she sees it. And he said, it's too late. She's on her way. Well, Natalie bounced in the front door, and to our surprise said, "You are so lucky. You're so lucky to have a project. This is fantastic." She then went out to the backyard. The water was flowing out of the guttering. This could be a Mediterranean courtyard. It's brilliant. So she's so enthusiastic. However, with some painting on my Uncle David's rotary saw in action, it's actually starting to take shape, which is good. Now, another thing that Natalie has also done at 87 Gilnahirk Road, she's actually established a collection point for ASOS and Amazon Prime. I go down to the house quite often painting, and when the drivers arrive up, they say to me, "Is Ashley not working or is Natalie not working at home today?" So, what can I say about Ashley? His mother is very organised, and she has all Ashley's school reports. So back to P1, Bellman Primary School, P1. And it read, Ashley is an attentive worker who consistently works to the best of his ability and never gives any bother. And I think if anybody knows Ashley, that's very true today. And more importantly than that, when Ashley was going to his childminder, Auntie Betty, the other thing, he was never on the. She's looking at me. He was never on the naughty step. Always well behaved, unlike his sister Rachel, who frequented it quite often. Ashley was also so good when he was at Auntie Betty's that her husband, Uncle Billy, as we called him, Ashley could go on out in Uncle Billy's camper van to go to the dump. And I'm so delighted that Auntie Betty is here today, down here. It obviously goes without saying, Karen and I are very proud of Ashley's academic achievements. He's done so well. He's achieved so much in that field, legal-wise, etc. Also in the sports field, whether it was football for the Scouts, rugby for the school and Estonians, some of the boys are here today, or on the squash court where he represented Ulster, he always gave 100%. Another thing I just want to mention is Northern Ireland football. I know some Green White Army guys are here today. Actually, he's been going to Northern Ireland matches with myself, his Uncle Watson Tom, for over 25 years. We've had some great highs, some very lows, but some of the highlights have been 1-0 against England, 7th September 2005, we were there. Another big win was the 6th of September 2006, 3-2 against Spain, a Healy hat-trick. And another memorable night as well, fantastic match. I think one of the best matches I've ever seen, 28th of March 2007. Northern Ireland 2, Sweden 1. Sorry, Tommy. However, things have not been as good recently. We were there in June against Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, we lost 1-0, and we walked slowly up Windsor Avenue, heads down, depressed. Ashley didn't look that depressed, actually. He looked quite positive. And he said to me, I was just thinking there, if he ever had a son, he could probably play for Sweden through the grandfather rule. So actually, I've just checked the FIFA World Rankings there, just for preparation, really. So Sweden actually are number 22 in the world. Northern Ireland, unfortunately, are 64. We're just behind Jamaica at the minute. So it might be not a bad idea to consider the grandfather rule on this occasion. So I just want to finish a couple of things. Thought I'd better point out a few things to Natalie, really, here. Cars, Natalie. Ashley's not really into cars. I don't know why you've noticed that. Ashley at his 8th birthday party, some of the boys were talking. William was actually there himself. And the boys were saying, what car would you like to drive when you get older? I think William said a Porsche. I don't know if I have one or not, William. Some other guy says Ferraris. Came round to Ashley. Ashley says, I love a Nissan Micra. Now, his aspirations have increased a lot over the years. He is now the proud owner of a Vauxhall Corsa. And it has black alloys. No sign of the Porsche just yet, Natalie. Holidays. Just to point this out to you, gets very excited. Very excited over holidays. So much so he won't sleep the night before. He also makes himself ill with excitement. And on several holidays, we've actually had to bring him to the out-of-hours doctor to get a sedative, to get him on board the plane. So just be aware of that. Now, when he does arrive in Spain or wherever you're going on holidays, make sure he lies down. He needs a good rest. It was one summer he didn't lie down. Heather can verify this, and Benjamin Lewis's cousins. He didn't lie down, and then about 7 o'clock at night, we're about to go out for a meal, Ashley literally collapsed. We could not wake him, and when he woke the next morning, he actually couldn't walk. His legs would not move for him, so be careful. Now, if you're going to Port Rush or Port Stewart, he is fine. So bear that in mind. And just one more last thing. Christmas. Again, the excitement takes over. Can't sleep the night before. The next morning, he must be into the room first. He has to switch the lights on, the music on, and check if Santa has been. So please make sure you do that. So I just want to say a couple of things in summary here. Delighted that Natalie's a member of the Black family now. And we're delighted to meet Tommy and Nicola as well. And I think with Ashley's patience, Natalie's enthusiasm, I think they will make an excellent team. So I'm sorry for getting a bit emotional there earlier. So if you'd please stand with me and wish Natalie and Ashley best wishes and congratulations for the future. Natalie and Ashley.
Well done, John. It's not your fine self. Now or never. Here we go.
Thanks, William. On behalf of my wife and I, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. I'd like to thank everyone for the gifts we have received. Natalie and I are completely overwhelmed by everyone's generosity, and we really appreciate it. Before I start my other thank yous, can I just say how stunning Natalie looks today? I really am punching. So there are a few people I need to thank for their contribution towards today, so just bear with me. Thank you to both our parents for helping us make today possible. We couldn't have done this day without your help. Thank you to Amanda, Natalie's auntie, for helping or for organising the wedding cake and hosting the females. Hello. For organising the wedding cake and hosting the females this morning. You're a brave woman for taking that on. Thank you to Auntie Roberta, ably assisted by Auntie Maud, for the tray bakes and shortbread at the drinks reception. They were delicious as always. Thank you to Rachel for organising the place cards and for reading so elegantly at the ceremony. Thank you to Peter and Jason for carrying out their usher duties very well. Well done. Thank you to Lewis and William for being my groomsmen and for having a very calming influence on me this morning. I'd also like to thank William for doing Master of Ceremonies today. He's doing an excellent job. I didn't realise he was going to speak so much at the start, but there we are. I'd like to thank Johnny for being my best man and organising a very successful stag weekend in Edinburgh. As some of you know, I was quite apprehensive about my stag. So much so that when I was on my way to the airport, my watch told me it detected higher than normal stress and advised me to relax with a breathing activity. However, there was nothing to worry about. What's happening? However, there's nothing to worry about as Johnny planned the weekend to perfection, and thankfully I survived without too much damage. Special thanks to the bridesmaids, Anna, Jan and Bronwyn. You're all looking beautiful today. I'd like to thank you for all your hard work in helping Natalie plan this special day and for being such a great support to Natalie. I'm going to take the opportunity at this stage of my speech to toast them. So can everyone please be upstanding and raise your glass to the bridesmaids? This microphone. I would like to thank.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Tommy and Nicola for welcoming me into the Bankston family. I always look forward to my trips to Jordanstown, especially when Tommy wheels out his barbecue and offers me a beer from Bankston's brewery. Now that I've officially been welcomed into the circle of trust, I'm hoping to learn the secret family recipe for Swedish gravy. Don't worry, Tommy. Don't worry, Tommy. I promise I won't tell Jason. Jason, you know what you need to do. I'd also like to thank my mum and dad for being such good parents and bringing Rachel and me up so well. We couldn't have asked for better parents, and I know it wasn't always easy, particularly with Rachel's terrible two tantrums, which seemed to go on forever. Only joking, Rachel. When I was preparing my speech, I was thinking about my first date with Natalie and how it all came about. I had to look back at our initial messages on WhatsApp. I'm just going to read a few here now. Me, do you fancy doing something? Natalie, what do you mean? Like, as in, are you asking me out on a date? Or are you asking me, like, what activity? Me, LOL. Asking you out on a date to do an activity. Natalie, okay, sounds good. Me, what do you think I meant? Natalie, like, I thought you meant, like, do you fancy doing something? Like an activity, as opposed to, like, drinks? Sorry, think I got a little flustered. Maybe the way I said it wasn't clear, because I was very nervous. Natalie, I know, asking out your soon-to-be wife isn't easy. Very forward-thinking of her, but here we are, and we haven't looked back since. I remember the day after our first date, my mum and dad asked me how the date had gone. I told them it had gone very well. I couldn't get a word in edgeways, but she was very good looking and made me laugh all evening. After that, things progressed quickly. Natalie introduced me to Tommy and Nicola. I introduced Natalie to my mum and dad. Natalie introduced me to Maddie. I introduced Natalie to Molly. Natalie introduced me to her granddad. I introduced Natalie to my sister. Natalie introduced me to Anna and Jason. Before we knew it, we were in each other's family WhatsApp groups and planning family holidays together. We had a great trip to Sweden, to Tommy's hometown in Tranås, where I was made very welcome by Natalie's Swedish family, and I'm delighted that some of them have made it here today. Soon after, Natalie joined my family on a holiday to Portugal. I knew that Natalie had the family's approval when Emily, Bethany, Jake and Alfie invited her to play a game of hide and seek. Soon after this approval, Natalie and I got engaged. We had a few drinks in the National to celebrate with our parents. The advice was to enjoy being engaged and not rush into planning the wedding too soon. I think that was on a Saturday. On the following Tuesday, Natalie opened up her wedding spreadsheet planner, and here we are. Natalie and I have a lot in common, but are complete opposites in many ways. Sometimes Natalie needs to be slowed down a bit, and I have been told I sometimes need to speed up a bit. I know that's hard to believe. Whilst we enjoy watching a lot of films, series, and true crime documentaries together, I'm still struggling to come to terms with Real Housewives of New York City, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Orange County, Real Housewives of New Jersey, and her favourite of all, Dr. Phil. And now to Natalie herself. Thank you for all your hard work and preparation in making this a very special day. I know I probably don't tell you enough, but you are beautiful, kind, loyal, and one of the funniest people I've ever met. I truly love you and can't wait to start the next chapter of our lives together. So, can I ask everyone to be upstanding and raise your glass to my new wife, Natalie.
Well done, Ashley. Brilliant. Thankfully, I don't have to go too far for this speech. It's exhausting walking up and down this platform. But here, the best man, Johnny Medill.
Thank you, William. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the final speech of the day. But please listen up. I have a lot to get through and a long list of things to say. Now, a speech that's delivered in verse is not something that you hear all the time, but for a one-off occasion and two special people, I thought I'd attempt it in rhyme. Now, I know there's some guests here from Sweden, and I don't want them... to be feeling left out. So before I begin the main part of my speech, I thought I would give them a shout. So if you're here from Sweden, God kväll alla, jag hoppas du har en bra mag. Välkommen till årets bröllop, en sådan fantastisk dag. Tack till er svenska, folket här är hit idag det norrarens dag. For those of you not fluent in Swedish, like me, that basically means att så snäj. Now, I'd just like to thank a few people and single them out. If I may, to Nicola and Tommy and Karen and John for hosting this incredible day. But there's an unwritten rule of weddings that no one should look more handsome than the groom. So I'd like to... Now, there's an unwritten rule of weddings that no one should look more handsome than the groom. So I'd like to thank Lewis and William, our groomsmen, for ensuring they abide by that rule. But I'm sure we can all... What am I doing? I think it's over there. Don't call the boss. Okay. But I'm sure we can all agree as to how beautiful Natalie looks in her dress this evening, which must make a nice change from the trousers she's worn in the relationship ever since they began dating. Now, if you think this entire speech will just be cheap jokes like that about Ashley being under the thumb, Then you're absolutely right. I have 64 verses, so Ashley, this is going to be fun. But I'll have to tell you all about this man, because I'll only be standing here once. But I'll have to go easy. He's a sensitive soul, and he's been bricking it for the past 7 months. It was exactly 22 years ago, after entering Instant Year 8, that I met a bunch of lads from the mighty East Belfast, and Ashley and I became mates. He was the shy one and the ultimate all-rounder, quietly determined and persistent. Straight A's in his exams, head of his house. The best word to describe him was consistent. But it so happens that his senior housemaster at Inst was my dad, of all people. So I thought I would ask him ahead of today to sum up in a few words his star pupil. When you gave Ashley an instruction, he did exactly what he was told, no matter the task. I did find that ironic, because that's exactly what Natalie said when the very same question was asked. Now, Ashley was quiet, shy and reserved. He would never get angry or swear, except when being mocked for having a girl's name, or worse, the shade of his hair. He insisted it was auburn, not ginger, but that seemed a pointless argument to win, because he still can't leave the house without factor 50 being applied all over his skin. Now, I don't want you to be painting a picture of some sort of saint or priest, despite that his nickname with Natalie's family is that lovely Inst boy from the East. While he's a gentleman, polite and well-mannered, and his in-laws all think he's real sweet, I can honestly say, when he's had a few beers, he's one of the loosest men you'll ever meet. An example of this Jekyll and Hyde is that he can often become quite aggressive. I'm not talking about physical, that's definitely not his style. It's the drinks that he buys that are excessive. I've never met a man who gets carried away more when buying consecutive rounds of shots from the bar, only to then try and pay, and this happens at least twice a year, with his driving license rather than his card. Now, in France at the Euros in 2016, we'd literally been drinking all day. But when it was time to call it a night, it was Ashley that led us astray. Fast forward to 6 a.m, the rest of the lads were in bed. Ashley was insistent that we still weren't going home. The man wasn't right in the head. But by this time, the locals were queuing outside a cafe for their croissants of choice, when Ashley burst in, grabbed a baguette, and started singing at the top of his voice. Green and white army, green and white army, green and white army. True story. Now, Ashley's love of sport is a part of his life, about which I should say a few words. He'll want me to mention his rugby success for the mighty Estonians Thirds. But he's always loved going to the gym. Working out is a great part of his life, but even he can't work out how he's managed to land Natalie Benson as his wife. Perhaps he reminds her of a Viking, to which a Swedish girl really appeals, which is why we dressed him as one on the stag, though this one wore very high heels. Speaking of the stag trip in Edinburgh, I'd tell some stories if I had my way, but I can't say a word because Ashley's a lawyer and he made us all sign NDAs. Now, there's some things that are banned from this speech that I'm simply not allowed to mention, most notably the names of Ashley's first loves, as clearly that might upset the Bensons. But I'm going to make an exception and tell you them. Natalie, don't hate me, I'm sorry. In no particular order, Glentoran, Man United, Hearts and the Green and White Army. When it comes to Glentoran, for Ashley and his dad, I don't know why they put themselves through it. Constantly hoping that this season will be different to the last when they bottled it and blew it. I just hope that the wedding night won't be the same as a typical Glen's title campaign, with initial excitement of what is to come, only to blow up prematurely again. Sorry. You okay, Ashley? Now, I can't not mention Manchester United, a club that has moved into tears, especially growing up in the glorious era of the wonderful Sir Alex Ferguson years. To say that Ashley was obsessed with United's team in the 90s is an understatement if ever there's been. Natalie is still removing the posters from his bedroom of almost every player in that team. But as some of you know, I work in sport, so I thought I would use my connections to see if I could track down one of his heroes to see if they might give him a mention. I spoke to Sir Alex, Beckham and Scholes, but they all said they'd give it a miss. I finally heard back, though, from the legend Roy Keane, whose reply went something like this. Now listen, people say he's done a good job at the wedding. People say he's a top wedding planner. He's barely lifted a finger in 6 months. He's just lazy. He said he sorted the contract with the venue and the suppliers, but he's supposed to be a solicitor. That's his job. And then the proposal and the engagement. Don't get me started on the engagement. All this nonsense on social media with the bauble on the Christmas tree. If you're going to propose to your fiancée, you're going to do it properly. Maybe take her on a nice holiday, take her to a nice restaurant, but not proposing in the living room in front of the Christmas tree. You expect more. This is a senior international lawyer. I am staggered that she said yes. Do me a favor. Now, I should really talk about his love, his soulmate and the love of his life. But enough about Maddie, Natalie's dog. I should really talk about his wife. But when it comes to Ashley's love life, he gives little to nothing away, which is why when Natalie first arrived in the scene, I was intrigued as to what he would say. So I thought I would share with you all the details of our WhatsApp exchange from that first ever time that Ashley Black mentioned Natalie Benson by name. It was September of 2021. The world a very different place to be. We were in a pandemic. We had a government at Stormont. Philip Schofield, Hugh Edwards on TV. Topical. Ashley messages me out of the blue with just an Instagram profile screenshot, accompanied by the words, "Do you know this girl? LOL emoji, full stop." Now, Natalie's a big name around Belfast, so I replied, "Natalie Benson, she's a catch." And when asked to elaborate, he simply replied with the words, "LOL, Tinder match." Now, sometimes our Ashley needs encouragement. His initiative can at times be a bit shit. So I told him he needed to ask her out for a drink, to which he replied, "Yeah, she's actually really fit." So off they go for that first date in Belfast, a venue called Henry's they graced. After a few gin and tonics, some local live music, they both got completely shit-faced. Now at this point, if I hear back from Ashley, then I know that the date has gone well, because he wouldn't be one with these types of things to voluntarily disclose or tell. So lo and behold, the very next day, a message pops up on my screen. Could it be that Ashley, despite being so guarded, is already showing signs of being keen? So it's fair to say I was on the edge of my seat as I waited for that elusive message back. His feedback was brief, but said it all. I quote, "She was really good crack." Now at this point, Natalie, you were winning, because in the 20 years prior to that day, that is far and away the biggest compliment I've ever heard Ashley Black pay. Now, I'm conscious the night's moving on, and I don't want to hold up the day. But before I wrap up, because I know you're all hungry, I have a couple of last things to say. If there's one thing we both have in common, aside from being lawyers in our careers, it's that any time we're asked to discuss our emotions, it fills us with anxiety and fear. So imagine how difficult it is standing here now, having to explain what this man means to me, especially as I'm having to do it in verse, and this is verse 73. You're the most reliable and loyal person I know, and the first place I turn to for advice. I couldn't be prouder standing beside you today, alongside your beautiful new wife. You've been there when I've needed you without ever being asked, and you always have your mates' backs. Just please don't ever lose that Jekyll and Hyde character, because that's why we all love Ashley Black. Natalie, you're beautiful, intelligent and kind, something that no one will ever debate. As for your husband, though, as I've told you before, he's punching so far above his weight. From that first ever date back in Henry's in autumn of 2021 to the Galgorm today with your family and friends, just look how far you both come. On behalf of every guest here today, it's been an honour for us all to play a part. It's clear that you're both meant for each other, and today is only just the start. So please, can we all be upstanding from the front to the back of the room, and please raise your glasses from Mr. and Mrs. Black to your wonderful bride and groom. Thank you.